Good evening, one and all, and welcome back to my channel, Philly Willy, and I'm here looking into the beautiful sunset with my bike. And I thought it was the perfect place to come and shoot this video because I'm here at the Wellington Island upon the wharves where the ships are in dock, and they are just looking really perfect, and don't get to see all these locations in other parts of the country. And today's topic, then the most important one, who should be buying this motorcycle. And as I discussed in the previous two videos, I already discussed all the pros and all the cons of this motorcycle, how much ever I could recollect, and I have made sure that none of it has been missed out. So today I will be specifically dwelling upon this point as to who should be actually buying this bike now. To be fair and square, this is not an average motorcycle, as I said in the first video. This is an enthusiast motorcycle, and it comes out of the categories of Royal Enfield, from which if somebody wants to graduate, and this is the motorcycle to go to. This is not just your average Joe. It is a twin cylinder engine, it's a heavy motorcycle, comes at a decently high price tag. And in this regard, if you have to shell out some 6 lakhs of rupees ex-showroom for a motorcycle, definitely makes sense that you need to be of a certain income bracket to be buying this motorcycle. And therefore, if you're not of a certain income category, then this motorcycle and all the expenses that come with it subsequently into the future will start giving you a pinch, and therefore you might want to let go of this motorcycle maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years down the line. So therefore, first point to be factored in is, once you have been impressed with the positives and the negatives of this bike, and therefore the question to be asked is, can you own it, and thereafter can you maintain it? Do you have the kind of income levels to support the motorcycle? Because trust me, this motorcycle is not so cheap to maintain, and much like the motorcycles of its category, like Versus 650, Suzuki, the Storm 650 and all those, and even right now the Honda NX500, they all are those categories of motorcycle from where the enthusiast categories begin, and therefore they are not going to come cheap to maintain and to run. The mileages are generally low. Performance additives have to be given to the motorcycle to keep them working. So that is the first point. Look at it. Do you have the income? Good. Second point to consider is, are you of a certain build, height and weight, so that you can carry this motorcycle with you. Now, at many points in time when I stand next to this bike, many people ask me, is it your big brother's bike or something? Because they look at my size and shape and they make a opinion that I don't get to be driving this bike because it doesn't suit me. But the fact is that my experience has been built on this bike, and I can actually ride it very comfortably. I have done many off-road sessions on this bike, even though they are alloy wheels and biased against off-roads, but I still have done that. तो देखने की बात यही है कि मतलब आपकी हाइट और वेट कैसी है, कि आप इस गाड़ी को चला सकते हैं कि नहीं. And I hope that most Indians would be able to do it if they are slightly well built, if they are lean and mean, and I think then you should not stick to this category of bikes. Better to prefer your Himalayan 450s. So therefore, how good are you to maintain this bike physically? Factor number 3 is where I think most of the people will start having questions, because when I had bought this bike, there were no competitors. In the 500cc category, there were 0 competitors. But subsequently now NX500 has come in, and I have heard that there are other motorcycle manufacturers who are coming with their similar cc motorcycles of equal power and of lesser weight, so therefore easier to manage. So that's a point to be considered. Do you really want to be going for the Benelli brand? It has got an Italian father and it has got a Chinese mother. So that's where the problem comes in with this bike. But otherwise, it behaves definitely like any other bike worth being called a super bike. So look at it. You have multiple options now in the market, if not at least more than 2. So if 2 bikes of the same category are there, do you really want to go for the NX500, a more reliable Honda brand, a jab bike, and therefore you get more comfort riding this bike, because you get to know that then these bikes will never ditch you. But Benelli, I don't know, I'm not sure. Purely dependent on RSA to run this motorcycle. Factor number 4, I think, is where I think this generic, and that generic point is, do you as a person intend to use this bike only once in a month, or once in 3 months, or twice in 3 months, or something like that. Your frequency of utilization is extremely low. If your utilization ratio is extremely low, I'd rather say that please don't buy such a bike, because then it will only become a pain on your head, and then you will start cursing the brand and the bike altogether. Because I'm seeing this phenomenon very much alive in the All India TRK group, where a lot of owners are coming up with issues. One of the most fundamental things is they don't run these motorcycles. Now I've heard from one of my co-owners, one of the owners of this bike, is that he left it there for around 1 month without use, and the battery died. Now that is something very I would say weird. There are bikes which have stood like that for 6 months, 8 months, and still they have all functioned, but this bike, for some reason, in 1 month the battery died. Maybe I don't know what was the reason behind that. I just hope that it was not what you call it is only peculiar to his motorcycle. But if it is a pan Benelli TRK 502 issue, then that's going to be an issue for many owners, including me, if I ever leave my bike for without use for 1 month. I have nearly 25 kilometers of travel every day to and from home. So my bike generally is always healthy. It is continuously running. All the machineries are in its prime state. I do not over rev this motorcycle. I do not under rev this motorcycle. I do not use too much of brakes. I practice engine braking very religiously, even in city conditions. So my way of motorcycling has definitely made me gel well with this good bike, because I always feel that this bike was the one which was waiting to come my way, and it indeed has come my way, because it's all peculiar to the rider style. So if you are an average Joe, you are a person who has done average motorcycling all your life, and now suddenly you are decided to graduate to something big vehicle, and therefore you thought, okay, let me go with this Benelli, then that's where I think you need to have a second thought of this motorcycle. Please don't do it, and give a thought about it. Next point I like to cover is with respect to who you want to be after this. If you are a kind of person who wish to be graduating onto a BMW 1250 GS, a multi-strada, or something of that of price range, I think this bike is definitely a very good one when it comes to giving you that stepping stone. It gives you that big bike feeling. It is low on the maintenance presently, but then subsequently when these big bikes start demanding too much out of your wallet, and therefore you would get to know how it is to start maintaining these big boys. So I like to say that unless you are not planning to graduate to a bigger bike after this, if you really want to come down to maybe a Himalayan or any other Royal Enfield or a Yamaha or even a Honda bike or Jab bike which are low on maintenance, if that is where you are planning to head to, then maybe this bike will be your Everest. But if not, then it will be one of those peaks you would be just climbing and jumping over before you head into your 1250s or whatever, the multi-stradas or whatever. I intend to buy one of these what you call inline 4 cylinders. That is one of my dream. That is where I see myself in the next 10 to 15 years, before maybe when the age catches up and I can't ride anymore, or my riding comes down and I'm not able to handle a heavy motorcycle. So that's where I plan to be at, and that's the reason I think this motorcycle is your good stepping stone. One of the viewers even asked me, is it a good tourer motorcycle? And I sat on this bike, and I've sat on a cruiser. Apart from your leg forward position in this space, when that is somewhere close to where the lower crash guard is, if you have a forward posture, then you have a cruiser position. But this bike has a slightly aggressive sports touring position. It is not your classic sport touring position when you ride. The right triangle is not biased towards sports touring, but yes, a bit of your weight is forward, and your legs are crunched in an acute angle towards the rear of the motorcycle. It is indeed a slightly aggressive posture. It may or may not be comfortable for many. I found it very difficult. I was coming from a cruiser category before this, and therefore once I decided it's time for me to take a leap, let me experiment a bit with myself. I went with this bike. It took me around 2 months to get used to it, but from then it has been a breezy affair. It's always in the first 2 months then you are not going to like it. You will have to go tide over this, you will have to weather the storm, and after once you are very clear with it, उसके बाद ये बाइक तो एकदम बढ़िया है. इसके ऊपर बस बैठना और चलते रहना. There is no problem with this bike. This bike just behaves like a cute little horse for you. I have called him Nandi, by the way. I have not said this before. I am a Shiv Bhakt. That's what is written on the bike. Shambho Mahadeva. Got even a Trishul put there. I am a Shiv Bhakt band, and when I first looked at him, he was white in color, and I thought nothing better than the name Nandi for him. So So he's my Nandi, and Nandi performs just like a bull, always ready to rev up. There's always this underbelly power which is ready to deliver whenever you want it. So I think if you really want to go for this motorcycle, and these are the factors if you want to consider, please do put a thought to all these viewpoints. Definitely a good tourer, definitely got enough of power, it has got enough of weight. You are not going to find any trouble even growing on through this gravel and mud and everything like that. You are not going to face any issues. बड़े आराम से चल जाती है इन सारी चीज़ों के ऊपर, and on the tarmac, so it is just like it is having a walk. And then many people who have stopped me in middle of the road when I was on the ride and asked me, so how is this bike, what is your final opinion? So my final opinion is this, and I think I should tell it out as loud as I can. If you have ever never and ever been in love, please buy this bike and fall in love. अगर आपने कभी ज़िंदगी में मोहब्बत नहीं की है तो इस बाइक को ख़रीद डालिए और आपका ऑटोमेटिकली आपको प्यार हो जाएगा. That is why this bike has been built. It is so good. It is so good to ride. It is, as a owner, it is very easy to maintain at your level. Of course, at the shop, it will become a little more expensive. Issues with the parts, you will have to find your way out. That is what is the difference between an ownership. Otherwise, you can rent out a motorcycle such as this, go for your Himalayan rides and come back and then just leave it to the guy who gave it to you. So if you are going to be an owner, you need to go through all the ups and downs. Less like any romantic love affair you have, you will always have your ups and downs, your bad moments, your hated moments. Every moments are there. It's all pluses and negatives. So जैसे गुस्सा आता है, प्यार आता है, कभी श्रृंगार होता है, all these moments are there in a love affair. तो आपको भी इस गाड़ी के साथ वो सब कुछ होगा. जब इसकी पंचर हो जाती है तो इतना गुस्सा होगा इस गाड़ी के ऊपर, लेकिन हाँ, यही तो है पूरा लव अफेयर. अगर किसी गाड़ी के साथ आपको चलना ही है 3 साल 4 साल 10 साल तक, तो उसकी सारी चीज़ें, सारे खूबियाँ, सारे नेगेटिव, सारे चीज़ों को आपको अपनाना ही पड़ेगा. You cannot let it be that I will get a perfect motor. You are never going to get a perfect motorcycle ever in this world. It is not yet been designed for you. You only just adapt to whatever the motorcycle has that has been given to you by one of the manufacturers. Else you will have to pick out each individual part and design your own motorcycle. And I don't know how many people in the world out there are having that kind of patience and passion to build their own motorcycle. And then there are always the regulatory issues of getting such a vehicle registered and riding them legally on the ground. So as far as I am concerned, I'm going to stick on with this motorcycle definitely for first 5 years. Subsequently, I'll have to weigh the options. I may not dispose this vehicle because it is hard on me. I might only dispose this vehicle because I deserve an upgradation. I already test drive Versys 1000 and I'm extremely pleased about that bike. Maybe an inline 4 from one of the Japs, maybe where I'll be upgrading to, or maybe it'll be a Triumph, but I'm not sure. बट फॉर द टाइम बिंग यही है मोटरसाइकिल, और इसी में कहानी है बनानी है मुझे. यही होगी मेरी क्या बोले, ही विल बी माई कंसॉर्ट, ही विल बी माई चैरियट, ही विल बी एवरीथिंग फॉर मी. एंड ही इज़ बीन माई कॉन्स्टेंट कंपेनियन फॉर द लास्ट 7 months. एंड एज आई सेड बिफोर, कभी भी एक बार भी इसने चू करके भी आवाज़ नहीं निकाली. तो दैट इज़ समथिंग विच सेज अबाउट दिस बाइक. इट इज़ नॉट योर एवरेज जो. ही इज़ स्पेशल, ही नीड्स स्पेशल अटेंशन. गिव इट टू हिम and he is going to give it back to you. So I think the time is up for sunset. I don't know if I'll be able to capture it. It's gone behind the ships. And with that, I think I'll sign off. And there are some more videos coming up. I've got a new set of accessories which I'll be fitting onto my bike, and I think that will be where the next videos will be headed. Until then, see you. Take care, eat healthy, and stay safe.